Let's continue this concept. Yeah, guys, welcome back. So, as of now, the scenario that we are gonna study right now is how to create our test cases, right? As said sometime before, while writing down the test cases, it's mandatory for us to write down a positive test case and a negative test case. Okay, a positive test case and as well as a negative test case, basically. Okay, that's what the ultimate point that we need to consider whenever you are creating the test cases. It's mandatory for us to write a positive flow and a negative flow. Positive flow means what exactly the requirement is talking about. If you are doing the same thing, and check whether it is working or not, which is a positive flow. If requirement is asking us to do something, and if at all you are not doing that, and checking out how exactly the application is responding, which itself is a negative test case. Okay, which itself is a negative test case. Fine, perfectly all right. Now let us discuss about the first requirement, which is choose a subscription type. Let me open up this UI prototype for this requirement too. So if you see this particular screenshot, they are mentioning that as per the requirement, as a requirement, what they have clearly mentioned is you need to select a product and you need to click on a next button, then only the welcome screen will display, which means on the home screen there are a multiple products it will display. Among all those products, pick any product and click on a next button, then only the welcome screen will display. See the requirement here, select the product type. User should select a product type. That's what the objective is. What is the precondition? Of course, the screen should display. What is the input that user needs to do? User should select a product. And what is the output? What exactly the product that you have selected should be stored in the database, and user should be navigated to the welcome screen. What is the post condition? This is the welcome screen. That's what the post condition is. And here, as part of the general, they have a listed down all the steps here, what exactly we need to perform. And here we don't have any text fields, hence they haven't given what exactly the field type is, what is the length, and all those things they haven't given. Perfect. Now, from this requirement, what we have understood, let me put a note here. Requirement 1. What we have understood, we should select a product and click on a next button, then welcome screen should display. Perfect. So this is all about the requirement that they are mentioning, which I can consider it as a positive flow, or I can also call it as a positive test case. So my positive test case is just about what exactly they are telling I will do that. Then what is gonna be my negative flow here? See, the requirement is telling you that, buddy, select the product and click on a next button. For suppose, if at all I am not selecting the product and click on a next button, what it's gonna happen? That fall under my negative test case. So my negative test case is without selecting a product, click on a next button and observe how application is working. Ideally, whenever you are not selecting any products and if at all you are clicking on a next button, there should show up an error message stating that, buddy, you have to select a product, then only you can click on a next button. Such kind of an error message should display. Apart from that, on this particular screen, most probably the positive test cases are okay, whether this product is displaying or not, whether the home page content is displaying properly or not. All those things we can write it down as a positive test cases. Apart from that, the negative test case, ideally when the negative test case will occur means if user should perform some operations, and if he is not doing that, in such a cases the negative test cases will occur. Ideally, okay, I need to select something. If I am not doing that and pressing something, then the negative test case will occur. Okay, so consider this screen, guys, the second screen, welcome screen. From a user perspective, we are not selecting anything, we are not entering anything. So, which means that there is a no negative test case at all here. Okay, whenever user needs to perform some operation or user needs to select something or enter something, then only the negative test cases comes into picture. The reason is why the negative test cases comes into the picture in such cases. The only reason is if he is not doing that activity and performing that particular operation, the error messages will be populating, which itself we treat it as a negative test case. Okay, which itself we are calling it as a negative test cases. For suppose if there is a nothing, if there is a nothing that a user should do or enter, in such a cases, we don't have any negative test cases. For suppose if you see the second requirement, basically only the message will display. We as a user, we can't do anything in that particular area. Hence, we don't have any negative test cases for this, and we don't have any negative test cases for this. The same way, if you see the last screen, which is a confirmation screen, it's just a confirmation message that it is being populated. For this confirmation message itself, we don't have any negative test case. And as said, guys, every organization does has their own templates. We need to follow our organization template in creating the test cases. And I was just referring to a sample template that I was creating right now. Okay. Anyways, we are gonna create our test cases moving further in Zira. For now, this is a sample template how exactly we can create the test cases. Test case 0001 is the ID that I am giving. The precondition, user should be on a application home page. What is the test case description? The positive flow, what are we verifying here as part of this positive flow, guys? So we are verifying whether the user is able to select a product or not. Verify product selection. Okay, verify product selection on a home screen. So select a product. What is the step? Select a product. Click on a next button. Click on a next button. Third one, observe the screen. The selected product details should display. This is what we are expecting. That's what it was mentioned in the requirement. When we will get the actual result, whenever we are testing that on a browser, if you check whether it is coming or not, which is an actual result. And another small confusing point here is majority of the people will get confused with respect to the negative flow. So the thing is, from this requirement, okay, if you go with the first requirements itself, you selected a product and if you clicked on a next button, the welcome screen should populate. Okay, this is what the positive flow is. This is what the positive flow is, right? Few people, they will say the negative flow as I'm selecting a product, I'm clicking on a next button. For suppose this screen is not loading. For suppose, okay, upon selecting the product, upon selecting the product and clicking on a next button, if 404 error screen displayed, can this be a negative test case? See guys, here the point is, how would you know that the 404 screen is populated or not? Until and unless you test it, you don't know that, which means that it's an actual result, which means that we treat it as a defect, which is not a negative test case. So the negative test case, when it will come, whenever we as a user needs to enter something, and if at all we are not doing that, in such a cases you will be encountering the negative test cases. But this is not a negative flow, this is a defect in the application, and you will get this defect whenever you are testing it. As of now, we don't have our application, we are looking at the requirement and then we are writing down our test cases. Hence we treat it as a positive flow. And this, we are not treating it as a negative flow here. Got it? Perfectly all right. That's the first test case that I have created. The second test case that I'm creating here is, of course, the user should be on an app home screen. Verify the home page content. Okay. Observe the page. Okay. Observe the page. The thing here is all the products should display. Okay, all the products should display. Next button should display. All the products should display. Next button should display. And the header, page title, all these things should also display. These products should display. The page title should display. The button should display. Everything should display, which we are considering it as an another test case. So here the test case at 0003 user should be on an application homepage. Verify navigating to welcome screen without selecting a product. Okay, this is my negative test case. Without selecting a product, click on a next button, observe the screen. Okay, click on a next button and observe the screen. Error message should display. Okay, so error message should display here for us as part of this requirement. As part of this requirement, error message should display, which is gonna be a negative test case. The first and a second are a positive test cases, and the third, it's gonna be a negative test case for us. Okay, perfectly all right. This is the way how exactly we can write down a test case for this requirement. Am I clear for you all, or do you have any questions for me? Anil, Monica, and Ann, any questions for me on this requirement and how to write down the cases?
Yeah, Surendra. So one question. So
Yes.
the both the same negative and positive test cases will be writing in the same page, or is there any
Anil,
separate?
sorry, can you please increase your volume? I can't hear you properly.
Is there any separate document like
Uh, Document for?
no? We'll be writing the same both test cases in the same page, negative and positive test cases.
Yes, see, basically, this is a template that we are using right now, and we are writing down the test cases in this Excel file. Moving further, we will write down all these test cases in Zira directly. Zira Zephyr's
Oh,
the test management tool that we have. Moving further, we will write down all our test cases in that particular plugin itself. Okay, in that particular plugin itself, we will write it down. For now, this is an Excel file that you need to put it up, and in the documents that I have shared with you all, okay, whatever the documents that I have shared with you over the Google Driver, that document does has these test cases tc.xls, in which you can write down these test cases for the time being. Probably sometime in the next week we will see how exactly we can write down the test cases in Zira. Okay.
yeah,
Perfect. Done the deal. So let's take a pause here for today. Practice these test case creation for this requirement. Tomorrow we will see the second, third, and a fourth requirements, and we will write down the test cases for those requirements in the tomorrow's session. Okay, done the deal. See you again in the tomorrow's session. Thank you. Bye bye.